A new pope. This guy from Chicago. This is historic, and it's Pope Leo the 14th. Tremendous news. But many people are asking, is he based or is he woke? And so far, there's a little bit of evidence that he may be woke. Mike Cernovich tweeting that he's an open borders globalist, saying that bringing in migrants, this is in reference to Pope Francis, a statement he made, that this is what we are called upon to do. Now, let me slow down here, show you the info on the Pope for those that may have missed it, and then we'll talk about the latest developments. I don't want to say it's definitive. It's very preliminary because this is breaking news. But of course, the concern is going to be, is he woke? Looking like that may be the case. Trump congratulates Pope Leo the 14th as first American to serve. He's from Chicago, of all places. Well, okay, I like that. But I do have concerns about someone being from this liberal bastion. Illinois is one of the most corrupt places in the country, if not the most corrupt state. Trump wrote on Truth Social, congratulations to Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost, who was named Pope. It is such an honor to realize that he is the first American Pope. What excitement and what a great honor for our country. I look forward to meeting Pope Leo XIV. It will be a very meaningful moment. Breaking news right now. Okay, well, figuring out who this fella is. We have this post from Mike Cernovich who said, the new Pope is an open borders globalist. And I said, whoa, no, that's not good news. Here's a tweet from Robert Prevost himself. This is the man who is now Pope. He was not expected to win. I don't think he was even in the top charts. Let me actually, let me see if I can pull this up. Prediction markets for the future. Trade papal contracts. Let's see what, who will be the next Pope? It's hard to actually see. I'm trying to pull up. Let's see. Where's Robert? Robert, this is amazing. This is absolutely amazing. Take a look at this from Kalshi. Who will be the next Pope? Robert Prevost was at 1%. He was not anywhere on this. And then all of a sudden he won. Could you imagine if you put a bet on that guy? Whew, or if you bought a contract for a future event, I think we describe it. This is what he said. He said, Pope Francis's letter, J.D. Vance's Ordo Amoris, and what the gospel asks of all of us on immigration. Okay, is he really open borders, though? This is what he tweeted. Pope Francis' letter, J.D. Vance's Ordo Amoris, and what the gospel asks of all of us on immigration. This is the article. They wrote, yesterday, Pope Francis wrote a letter, this is from February, mind you, to the bishops of the U.S. about immigration and mass deportation. While the letter was addressed to the bishops, it was written in response to the Trump administration's program of mass deportation. It also directly addressed the proper interpretation of the Ordo Amoris, a theological concept that Vice President J.D. Vance introduced into the conversation around immigration. Even though it was written to the bishops and is responding to the president and vice president, the letter poses an implicit question to the whole church of the U.S. Will we subject our political debates on immigration to the scrutiny of the gospel or not? In the background of the question are, on one hand, the clear teaching of the church and the consistent witness of the U.S. bishops to the human dignity of our migrant brothers and sisters. On the other, the fact that 56% of Catholic voters and 60% of white Catholic voters voted for President Trump because of immigration. They say in the National Catholic Reporter's pre-election poll of swing state Catholics, about 3/4 of Trump supporters cited his position on immigration as favorable. Many Catholics, and quite possibly the majority of Catholics, voted not only in toleration, but in eager support of a view of immigration and immigrants that is starkly different than the one taught by the church. Two clarifications are in order. They say first, as the Holy Father notes in his letter, Catholic teaching both allows and calls for development of a policy that regulates orderly and legal migration. No one except those who are misrepresenting the church's advocacy and care for migrants claims that Catholics are in favor of illegal immigration or open borders. Second, what the Catechism describes is the ability of political authorities to make exercise of the right to immigrate subjects to various jurisdictional conditions does not mean that all regulations and limitations on immigration are just. In the same sentence, such regulation is qualified as for the sake of the common good. And earlier in the same section, the catechism, did I say catechism before? The catechism teaches that the more prosperous nations are obliged, to the extent they are able, to welcome the foreigner in search of the security and the means of livelihood which he cannot find in his country of origin. In the U.S. Bishops' Conference helpful overview of the Catholic social teaching on migration. They explained the right of people to migrate, including for economic reasons, and the right of the countries to control their borders must be harmonized in mercy and justice. Therefore, they say, quote, a nation may not simply decide that it wants to provide for its own people and no others. This means that it cannot be enough for someone who wants to seriously engage Catholic teaching to say they support legal immigration without also evaluating the justice of the highly restrictive legal conditions the U.S. currently imposes on immigration, especially of low-skilled workers coming across the southern border. So let's go to the end and get the assessment, because it does look like they're basically saying, we get it, but we got to open the doors. Right now, many American Catholics do support and even cheer on attitudes toward immigration that show little sign of having been transformed or challenged by the gospel. Rather than continuing to try to justify ourselves, we need to hear Jesus asking us, who was neighbor to the immigrant on the border, to the immigrant in your cities, to the immigrant in detention or being deported? The gospel does not offer a charter for how to legislate about immigration. It does offer a standard for how far we are to go to love our neighbor, and a refusal to accept the limits we might be comfortable with on who our neighbors are. The question we need to answer is whether we judge our politics according to the gospel or the other way around. So I think the general idea, maybe I'm wrong about this, excuse me, they're basically saying the parable of the Good Samaritan begins in response to a scholar of the law who wished to justify himself and asked Jesus, who is my neighbor? It concludes with Jesus asking, who was neighbor to the robber's victim? Sounds like what they're saying is, you Americans, immigration policy is too strict. You were allowed to have a policy, but it's too strict. In the story of the Good Samaritan, the first person to say no was saying, but what are my legal justifications here? Legal requirements. So they go on quite a bit. I don't know if this in and of itself is evidence that this guy is a woke open borders globalist. But the concern, I suppose, is any argument that we should allow people to come into this country is trying to push the Overton window in that direction. It should be very simple. They should say, we do not involve ourselves in the right of nations and their sovereignty. That's simple. You don't need to write a letter at all. In fact, anybody who wants to adhere to the American vision for what Trump is bringing, they'd likely say a moratorium is not out of the question. That we shut down immigration for a few years so that we can deal with the illegal immigration problem. Once the problem is solved, reassess how and when we're opening those doors and to how many. The idea that we'd argue that there is a happy medium of allowing more people in. And what I'm saying is they're arguing a happy medium by which we increase the amount of migrants, make it easier. I say that is not what the American people want. It is not what they voted for. And personally, I'm not a Catholic or a Christian. I say, nice try, ain't going to happen. So this is the wiki for Robert Francis Prevost. I will say, very cool. He's from America and Chicago, of all places. That's amazing. He's an American Peruvian Catholic prelate. He's been the head of the Catholic Church and sovereign of the Vatican City-State since the 8th of May, literally just now. He was born in Chicago on September 14th, 55, so he's already he's 69 years old. The son of Luis Marius Prevost and Mildred Martinez. They go on to mention a bit about his history and his priesthood. I don't know that anything in here shows that he is overtly far left or woke or anything like this, but I do think the Catholic Church is a problem. And that problem is they need more people. They need more Catholics. They need more Christians. Largely, they need Catholics, obviously. They're not wanting people to go to other denominations. But with the changing attitudes of the far left, this is why many churches are going woke, because they're trying to bring you in and pander to you. I hope the Catholics don't do this. I've seen that they have in many circumstances. They're going to have to stick to their core values, and they should probably take a look what the American people want if they want to bolster their ranks. Because if they go against the popular mandate, people will reject this church. I'm not saying Christianity or the church. I'm saying they will reject the leadership that is currently in place, which would be bad for Catholics. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know for sure. This is just breaking news on the Pope. Questions about whether he's woke or far left or what that might mean. Don't know for sure. But what I will do is leave it there. Come hang out at Timcast IRL tonight at 8 p.m. Thanks for hanging out. Smash the like button. Follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast, and we'll see y'all then.